Ethical and authentic representation of hijabi AI virtual beings aligned with Islamic principles. The introduction establishes the context of AI virtual beings and their growing presence as digital influencers, highlighting the recent trend of creating hijabi AI figures. It emphasizes the importance of addressing cultural, ethical, and religious considerations when representing such deeply symbolic identities. The focus is placed on the risks associated with misrepresentation and exploitation if these virtual beings are developed without proper guidance. The thesis asserts that ethical, authentic, and respectful representation of hijabi AI requires strict adherence to Islamic principles, active involvement of Muslim women, and clear, enforceable guidelines to prevent distortion of religious and cultural values. The cultural and religious significance of the hijab is rooted in its role as a symbol of faith, modesty, and personal identity for Muslim women. Globally, the hijab is often misunderstood, with media portrayals frequently reinforcing stereotypes or framing it as a symbol of oppression rather than empowerment. Transferring such a profound symbol into an AI virtual being risks diluting its meaning, especially when divorced from the lived experiences and spiritual context that give it value. Misrepresentation in digital spaces can further entrench misconceptions and undermine the true purpose and dignity associated with the hijab. Ethical challenges in creating hijabi AI virtual beings include the risk of cultural appropriation, where religious identity is commodified for commercial gain or aesthetic appeal. Without personal agency, these AI entities can perpetuate inauthentic narratives, reinforcing harmful stereotypes and objectification. The lack of ethical oversight may lead to portrayals that misalign with Islamic values, while also exposing creators to legal and societal backlash in communities sensitive to religious representation. Ensuring that these virtual beings do not become tools for exploitation or misinformation is a critical ethical concern. When men create and control hijabi AI virtual beings, it raises significant gender-related issues, including the imposition of patriarchal perspectives and the influence of the male gaze. Such control risks framing the AI's identity and behavior in ways that conflict with the principles of modesty and self-definition central to the hijab. This dynamic can silence real Muslim women's voices by replacing authentic representation with artificial constructs shaped by external biases. Addressing these concerns requires ensuring that Muslim women lead the creation and narrative direction of any AI entities representing their identity. Islamic ethical guidelines for AI representation would be grounded in Sharia principles, emphasizing justice, equity, public good, and the protection of human dignity. These guidelines would require transparency about the AI's artificial nature to avoid deception, and ensure that behavior aligns with Islamic moral conduct, particularly regarding modesty and respectful communication. Commercial exploitation of religious symbols like the hijab would be prohibited, and creators would be held accountable for the AI's messaging and interactions. Additionally, strict boundaries would prevent AI use in contexts that promote falsehoods or activities deemed impermissible under Islamic law. Achieving sustainable and respectful representation of hijabi AI virtual beings depends on the active inclusion of Muslim women in development processes and decision-making roles. Collaborative efforts between technologists, ethicists, and religious scholars are essential to establish frameworks that balance innovation with cultural and religious integrity. Educating audiences about the artificial nature of these beings and setting ethical boundaries will prevent misuse and misinterpretation. Properly guided, AI can serve as a tool for positive cultural engagement, but it must be carefully managed, to avoid becoming a vehicle for exploitation or distortion. The conclusion reinforces the necessity of ensuring that hijabi AI virtual beings are represented ethically, authentically, and respectfully, grounded firmly in Islamic principles. It highlights the importance of protecting religious and cultural identities from misrepresentation in digital spaces and calls for responsible innovation that includes Muslim women's leadership. By adhering to clear ethical frameworks, developers can foster AI applications that respect human dignity and cultural values, ensuring that technological progress does not come at the expense of authenticity or community trust.